Let's get to the next clip. This one is called Joe Finally Speaks on Sheldon Johnson's Murder Charge. Now, if you guys don't remember, Joe brought on this guy called Sheldon Johnson, convicted or was arrested for allegedly like hurting somebody during like a armed robbery or something like that. And the next day or the same day, he like pretty much like up them.
He's completely changed. He's turned his life around, etc. Sheldon Johnson goes right back to his old ways, unfortunately. So here's the details of the story. Warning, it's pretty gruesome. Basically, cops found a dismembered body in a Bronx apartment where Sheldon Johnson, basically, it sounds like, went to an old enemy's place, held him up at gunpoint, and then killed him. Neighbors told cops the victim was heard desperately pleading with his killer shortly before 2 shots rang out in the apartment near Ogden Avenue. "Please don't," the doomed man was heard saying. "I have a family."
Damn, this guy did not care. Like in a freaking whole ass apartment. Like you're gonna hear that. People are gonna hear that. The people that live in an apartment are gonna hear a couple of gunshots and somebody yelling for their life.
Sheldon.
And we haven't heard anything, from Joe Rogan until now.
Well, they don't have slavery anymore. But you know what they do? They lock up black men for almost nothing and then force them to be slaves in prison.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but also everybody else too. It's that's where in jail, that's where slavery is legalized, which is sad.
Find ways to prosecute. Look, we
Illegal
know
marijuana.
today. I've done a ton of podcasts with Josh Dubin, who used to work with the Innocence Project, and now he's got his own thing with the Ike Perlmutter Center.
So yeah, that he was brought on by somebody else because he thought that he was wrongfully convicted. I think the problem was that they gave him too many years. Like the punishment was too severe. I think what was the problem?
They find people that are wrongfully convicted and help them get out.
Yeah.
We've had a bunch of those guys come on the podcast,
Yeah.
including one guy who came on who
yeah.
was actually guilty.
But in hindsight now, I think he should have just stayed there.
He was guilty before, and we knew he was guilty, but he got 50 years.
Right.
And then he was talking about he turned his life around, and it's like a month after he was on the podcast.
Yeah.
How long was it after he was on the podcast? 2
Yeah.
months? Maybe 2 months? Cut some dude's head off.
Yeah.
And he was wearing a blonde wig, and homie didn't understand.
And eventually is seen trying to leave with a blonde wig.
Oh, I thought that. I was like, we're looking at the hoodie, and I was like, that's not a blonde wig, that's a hoodie, but this is a blonde wig. Dude, what? Why that wig? That's the most obvious, most suspicious thing a black person can do. Yeah, like he came out with a freaking He-Man wig, thinking that he was a whole different person. It's crazy.
New HD security cameras. Like, this dude put a blonde wig on. They got crystal clear footage of him with his goatee on, wearing a blonde wig, carrying some dude's head.
Johnson did not care about that, and he was caught on security surveillance footage, walking out of the apartment in and out, and eventually trying to get materials to clean up the mess, clean up the crime scene. He brought a blue bin.
How sold were you in the room with him? How good was he at selling himself as this reformed person?
Well, what does it mean? Okay, so he didn't kill anybody in jail, and then he's out now, and he's got the...
Okay, also, he said that when he was in jail, he was basically like a leader there, which is, he's trying to, I feel like he's trying to downplay it a little bit, but there are certain things that was said in that, in that podcast that were fishy.
When you listen to his explanation of what happened, why he went to jail. So he was a drug dealer.
Right.
And he had gone to jail before, and some dude owed him money. Some dude, some drug deal, and the guy was like, fuck you. So he found the guy, and he pistol whipped him.
It's kind of like Joey Diaz, if you guys remember that story.
Yeah.
He was kind of a bad guy.
Yeah,
but
okay.
was that because he spent 25 fucking years in jail? Because he was 20, I think he did 25 years before they let, 24, before they let him out, which is an insane amount of time to be locked up in a prison and then expect to acclimate. And
so you're saying, did prison make him much worse?
Did prison make him much worse? Because it certainly can with some people. But we've had people on that were innocent, and prison made them amazing.
I think I think a lot of people will understand that jail, especially in the U.S. system, jail can be wishy-washy with how people are supposed to be rehabbed.
I mean, something about like the constant studying and the accepting your situation in life, even though you were innocent, and then a lot.
So difficult for certain type of people to come back, and they don't have families, they don't have people that they get supported by because of what they did.
Dirty. Some people involved in prosecuting and convicting people are.
Yeah.
You remember that guy in Pennsylvania? There was a guy in Pennsylvania who was a judge who went to jail because it turns out that he was getting paid to have kids arrested and sentence them into juvenile centers.
Wow.
So he was
Paid
getting
by
a
whom?
kickback. He
Do
was
we
getting
know?
kickback from the center.
Oh.
So the
There was also another thing about this one investigator in New York that was falsely imprisoning people, and some people got out. I mean, like I think 80, I think it was 80 people or 100 people had to get like their files rechecked to see if there was any wrongdoing, and that cost like the city of New York millions and millions of dollars to do. And I mean, we see this all the time, right? Like, I understand Joe saying that there is some unfair things that happen. But yeah, like this is the sad thing in the U.S. system, that there is corruption, and it sucks.
prison guards unions work to stop marijuana laws from being
Really?
Yeah, because they want people to get arrested so that people go to jail,
Yeah.
so they have jobs, which
Yeah.
is fucking
Yeah.
crazy to think.
Yeah.
But private prisons make money off people being incarcerated.
Yeah.
If you make money off a person being incarcerated, now you have an incentive for incarcerating people because they
1,000%.
make money doing
And if you're
that.
a private prison, you don't even have to treat them that well because they're prisoners. Who's really going to get upset on their behalf? A few people that we're not going to take seriously. So if their conditions suck, it's prison. They're prisoners. Why do I need to treat them well?
Nobody cares.
Yeah, like when you're a prisoner, some people, say throw away the key. They should suffer, and it's yeah, like some of them, they go in there for minor offenses like marijuana charges, and maybe a little bit of thievery here and there. But do they deserve to have their lives destroyed? No, of course not. Especially the ones with the weed thing, right? Like that's just outrageous. But this guy, from what Joe was trying to say is that, yeah, like this guy was supposed to serve 50 years, but since he was behaving well, he was on good behavior, he got out in 25. Okay, I mean that happens a lot, and I mean it's kind of contradicting too, because if he was that good and he was doing so well, then why didn't the rehab in jail help him out? Because right when he came back out, he just murdered somebody, which is crazy, right? But this is a problem with the US jail system, that a lot of the problems are because people are trying to make money, and in order to make money in jails is to get as many people in jail as possible. And it's a sad thing, right? It's a sad thing to see, and hopefully, in the near future, we can start changing the rules, the laws, or whatever it might be, to kind of, make prisons more of a recovery, or like to make somebody better, right? Than to just make them feel like they're being punished, right? Make them be a better person for civilization or society in the future. But for right now, we have problems, and yeah, I mean it Joe did kind of give him Joe, definitely gave Sheldon Johnson some leeway, open-mindedness on maybe this guy isn't so bad. But then you figure out that, oh shoot, this guy is pretty terrible, right? And yeah, it's unfortunately hindsight is 2020. So yeah, and that's it, guys. That's all I gotta say. Let me know what you guys think about that.